This is part 2, lesson 10.5, and in this video we're going to learn how to do rotations. There's many different rotations you can do. We're going to focus right now on just doing 90-degree rotations, 180 and 270. Okay, just a reminder that when we rotate in geometry, we always rotate counterclockwise unless we're told to do something different. So sometimes you might be told specifically to go clockwise, but if you're not told that specifically, then you always go counterclockwise. When you rotate a figure, you are going to rotate it around a center. And so if you think about taking, some shape, if you put your finger on this part and you move that part, that's going to look different than if you were to put your finger on this part and then rotate it around. It's going to be a different image. And so that's what we're doing when we talk about a point of rotation. And so for each figure that we're going to rotate, whether it's a point or a shape, we're going to have a point of rotation. We're also going to be given an angle to rotate around. We're not going to be doing the ones with a compass or a protractor because we're just going to be doing 90, 180, and 270. And we are going to make sure we label our image and list our points. So number 7, it says n is 0, 0. So that's going to be it means n is going to be rotated around the point 0, 0. So 0, 0 is my point of rotation for point n. So I'm going to mark my point of rotation, and I'll do that with green. So what that means is it means n is going to rotate around with green being the green point being the center. So it's going to rotate around that pathway, and I want it to go 90 degrees. So 90 degrees, and you can say, well, okay, it's about there. That's not a good thing to guess. And so what we're going to do is we're going to look and again use the slopes. So what you do with a 90-degree rotation is look at your slope between n and the point of rotation. So my slope is negative 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So negative 5 over 3. And so at a 90-degree angle, so something 90 degrees is going to be the opposite reciprocal of that, so positive 3/5. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to my center, my point of rotation, and I'm going to go down 3 and left 5. And so this has a slope of 3/5. This has a slope of negative 5/3, and that's going to create a 90-degree angle. So I don't really want all of those lines there. What I'm going to be doing is I'm going to just be putting this right here as my point in prime. And so that is what n looks like if it's been rotated 90 degrees around the origin or around 0, 0. So you just use those perpendicular slopes. Let's try R. So this one, R is going to be reflected or rotated around the point 0, negative 5. So 0, negative 5 is right here. So ignore all the green stuff, ignore n, we're just looking at R. R is going to be rotated around this center, like that. And so we're going to be going that direction with R, and so I'm interested in that slope right there. So let's count it. So I'm going to go up 1, 2, 3, and then over 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So that one is positive 3/5. So my opposite reciprocal slope is negative 5/3. And so I'm going to go to my point of origin, or my point of rotation, and we're going to follow a slope of negative 5/3. Now we don't want to go down 5 and over 3 because that's going to take me the wrong direction. What I'm going to do is I'm going to go up 5 and backwards 3. Oops. And this is going to have a slope of negative 5/3. So if I look at that, those two lines right there are perpendicular. So this point is going to be my R prime. And that's what happens when it's rotated 90 degrees around the point 0, negative 5. So your answer to this question will be that one and that point. So what you'll list as your answers, or you're going to say n prime, is going to be the ordered pair negative 5, negative 3. R prime is going to be negative 3, 0. Okay, let's try another one, number 8. A is going to be rotated around the origin, so 0, 0, and it's going to be rotated 180 degrees. Now 180 degrees, that's the easiest rotation you can do because if you think about it, you're just going around exactly opposite. And so whatever slope that is, it's just going to continue on. And so 180 degree rotation, you're basically just going to follow the pathway. So if you go down 2 and over 4, you're going to go down 2 and over 4, and there's A prime. So if you're asked to do a 180-degree rotation, that's pretty easy. So A prime, I'll list it over here to the side since, well, I guess I can scoot up. So ask for A. So A is -4, +2, and so A prime is going to be +4, -2. Now, when something is rotated around the origin, you'll notice that there's a relationship between the ordered pairs. You'll notice that you have like same numbers, different signs, things like that. I'm not in for the patterns because as soon as you change the point of rotation to be something other than the origin, it really falls apart. So I don't worry about that at all. Okay, I'm going to do B, and B is going to be rotated around the point -1, +1. So this is going to be my center of rotation. B is going to be going 180 degrees like that. And so I know B is going to end up somewhere over there. It's kind of good before you start to just kind of know where you're heading, and then that way you're not surprised when you get there. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to find the slope between B and the center. So I'm going to go up 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then left 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So I'm going to go up again, right there. So I'm not surprised at all because that's where I expected to end up. And I like to do that way because then make sure I'm where I plan to be. So list your B, and that's going to be 5 and -4, and then B prime is -7 and +6. So if you notice patterns up here, you don't see the same thing here, and that's just because the center, the point of origin, changed, and so that's why I'm not really into getting the patterns on that. Okay, let's try the next one. Now the next one, number 9, we're going to rotate 270 degrees. So if you think about what 270 degrees is, if you start here at 0, 270 degrees is 3/4 of a turn. So this is 270 degrees. It is also exactly the same as if you go 90 degrees in a clockwise direction. So when you have a rotation of 270 degrees, you can think about it like this is 90 degrees clockwise, and that will be just an easier rotation to do. So I'm going to take Y and I'm going to rotate it around the origin, and if I think about it, it's going to go 270 degrees, so I'm going to end up over there. I can go 90 degrees in that direction. Now, since it's on an axis, this one's super easy because it's going to, if you go 90 degrees, you're going to end up over here on this axis. And so you can just find out where it is. So I'm at -1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So I'm going to end up at right here. And that's going to be my Y prime. So my Y prime will be at -5, 0. And this one was at 0, -5. Okay, let's try X. X is going to be a little bit different because we're not going to be around the origin. It's not on an axis. So X is going to be rotated around the point 0, 2. So this will be my center. So X is going to be rotating around like this 3/4 of a turn. And so it's going to end up somewhere over there in that area. So I'm going to go 90 degrees clockwise, and that will get me the same place. So what I'm looking at is I'm looking at my slope between my center, which is right there, and X. So I'm going to go up 1, 2, 3, and over 1, 2, 3. So my slope is +1, 3/3. I'm going to leave it as 3/3 because I have to count that many anyway. And then so my opposite reciprocal is -3/3. So I'm going to go from my point of origin, so right there, I'm going to go down 3 and over 3. And this will be my X prime. And so that's a slope of -1. This is a slope of +1. And so that looks like that makes sense. You want to always just kind of check it with your eyes and just make sure that that looks reasonable. Check and make sure, does this look like it's 90 degrees? Because if it doesn't look right, you probably want to double check it. Double check your slopes and make sure that they're opposite reciprocals. So your X prime is going to be 3, -1, and then X was 3, +5. Okay, I want you to pause the video and I want you to do number 10. You've got two different angles that you're doing. You're doing a 180 and you're doing a 90. And one is around the origin and one is around a different point. So go ahead and pause and come back and make sure that you did it right. Okay, I've got my Y prime is going to be on the Y axis. I went 180 degrees. And so it puts me on the same axis, just in the opposite direction. And then for x, I counted my slope between my point of center, which was 2, -1, and that was a 6. And then so 1, -1, 6 is my opposite reciprocal. And so that's the pathway that I followed to find x prime. And so that put me right there at 8, -2. Okay, now next on number 11, we're going to do an entire shape. Really, this is no different than doing 3 different little problems. So I'm going to take each point, and it's going to rotate 90 degrees, and it's going to go around here, 3, 0. So what's going to happen, if you can visualize this triangle, if you were to put your finger right there and hold on to that point, press it down to your paper, and then just start rotating that around, B is going to stay where it is. So B prime is still going to be at 3, 0. That one's not going to move. That's my point of center. C is going to rotate. A is going to rotate. So my triangle is going to end up over there somewhere, going 90 degrees. And so I just kind of know like what to expect. And so I'm just going to take these points one at a time. So I'm going to look at my slope between C and B, and it's -3/5. So I'm going to write that over here, -3/5. And so my opposite reciprocal is 5/3. And so from B, I'm going to be going that way at a slope of 5/3. So I'm going to go down, let me erase these extra lines. I'm going to go down 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and over 1, 2, 3. This is going to be my C prime. And so what I'm looking at, and let's just make sure that this looks right, this is 90 degrees from that. That looks right. Okay, so I'm happy with that. So let me write C prime is going to be 0, -5. And C was -2, +3. Okay, now A is going to go this direction, and it's going to go 90 degrees also, of course. So if I look at my slope between there, it's 1, 2, 3, and then 1, 2, 3, 4, so 3/4. And so -4/3 is the slope I'm going to follow. So I'm going to go down 1, 2, 3, 4, and then over 1, 2, 3. So that's going to be my A prime. And again, looking at the lines to make sure that I've got perpendicular, this line compared to that line, that looks reasonable. Okay, I've counted the slope, I've made sure. So my A prime is going to be 6, -4. And then A was -1, -3. So make sure you can write the ordered pairs correctly. You're getting them in the right order. The X comes first and then the Y. And then because this is a triangle in its pre-image, we're going to connect the points in the image. And it should be a congruent triangle. It's just been rotated. That's actually not a very good connection. Let me try that again. So that's what happens if the whole triangle rotates 90 degrees. Now, if it was going to go 90 degrees clockwise, then it would be like up there. Okay, number 12. You're going to do this one 270 degrees, and notice that this one says clockwise. And you're going to go around the point 0, 0. So basically H is going to stay put. Everything else is going to move, but since it's going clockwise, it's going to be going like that. So all the points are going to be going around like that. Now, since it's going 270 degrees, that's 3/4 of a turn. That is the same exact thing as if I went 90 degrees that way. And it's just less hassle to do it that way. So we're going to go 90 degrees clockwise or counterclockwise. So if you're going to do that, write it down. Okay, replace what you have there so that you don't get confused and mess up. So we're going to leave our center 0, 0. So that means that H is going to be at 0, 0 still. So H prime will be 0, 0. And just pick whichever point you want to start with. I'll start with E. So let's do E together, and then I want you to pause and see if you can get the rest of it. So E, my slope is -1, 2, 3, 4, and then over 2. So 4, 2, it's negative. And so if I do opposite reciprocal, +2/4. And the reason I'm not reducing that is because since I'm counting that many squares, I don't want to just go, down 1/2 or up 1/2. So +1/2. And keep in mind that positive slope is going to be going that way. So I need to make sure I'm going in the right direction. So I'm going to go down 2 from the origin. I'm starting right here, and I'm going to go down 2 and backwards 4. And this will be where my E prime is. And so again, if you look at those, they're 90 degrees, and so that looks right. So my E prime, I'm going to write my ordered pair for that. and that's going to be at -4, -2. And E was at -2, +4. Okay, so I want you to pause the video and I want you to find the other points and then connect the dots and make sure that you've got a quadrilateral that looks the same. Okay, I've got my 4 points here and I've got the ordered pairs listed, so make sure that yours all match. And then I'm going to connect my points. You want to check your points before you make the connection, because then you just have more erasing to do if you did something wrong. So this is a counterclockwise rotation. At 90 degrees, which is the same thing that it would have been if I would have gone 270 degrees around. So if you get something that's more than 180, I would just turn it around the other way. Okay, that will take you through rotations for today. And so on your homework, you're just going to be doing the line of reflection and then the rotations.